The water girl forgot.
Here.
It's not a stack of hundreds, is it?
In the envelope, you don't open
Yeah,
it
that
in
was
front of everybody.
I went looking for it. Am I signing as a
coming.
member?
Oh, yes. I've had to think what you were signing. I know what you're signing. Finance Committee, you're signing as a member.
So before we start the meeting, I'd like to read this, if I may. So,
Sure.
May, it is the greatest privilege of my life to serve as vice president. The president is keeping his word to the American people, to the people of Highland Park, and assembling a team that's bringing real change, real strength. Thank you, Mr.
Just
President.
one here and then one
I'd
over
like to
there.
second that your tie matches the rest of your outfit very, very well. And no one has worn their hair quite so well as you wear your hair.
Well, this is fun. Can we get to business? Like,
It's just a pleasure to serve,
It's a goodie
to
tonight.
serve your administration,
going on.
and
I'll say.
it's a pleasure to serve your administration, and it's just an honor to be sitting around the table with you today.
The workshop meeting of the Park District of Highland Park is called to order at 5:59
Grab
PM.
and chew already.
6.
Cal? High five.
From my view, that's 5:50.
Okay, but we have to wait till 6, so
I have 6 o'clock on my,
I'm so
on my Machop.
You have to.
If you call the roll.
Sure. Commissioner Bernstein?
Here.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf?
Here.
Commissioner Grossberg?
Here,
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Here.
President Kaplan?
Here. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda? All right, let's get started. Parks operations, golf operations, and Maya.
Pass this to Liza. Just for me.
Good evening. So tonight we have pictures, so it'll be exciting. Okay. So last time I was here to provide an update, not much had happened. So I'll just give a little rundown with images on what's happened at the site so far. So I think the last time I came, we were just about to start demolition. So here's the site before anything started. And then here's the demolition starting. It was interesting. They started up at the top, and then they started working their way down. So the building is now completely demolished. The foundation has been removed and demolished. There was quite a bit of debris on the site, so this is an image of the contractors kind of piling up all the soil and all of the debris and then hauling it away.
I have a large animal bone in my office.
Is that what that's from?
Lots of stuff. They then started grading and excavation. So if you go to look at the site now, it looks quite different. So you'll see that before there was that hill from the roadway. Now we're about the same grade as the roadway. Hauling away some soil. So the site is looking a lot different. We're making good progress, and starting this week, we're going to be starting with the aggregate piers. So that's kind of the base, I would say, for the foundation. We're still working with the city, reviewing, doing some final reviews of the building permits, but we expect to get those soon. We're on track. So moving on to the financial report, not a lot has changed here. These are numbers from when the IPD started in September 2016. We have not we received our first pay application from the construction management firm, but that hasn't been completed quite yet, so you don't see those reflected here, but you will start to see construction costs in hopefully the next report. Are there any questions?
how are the neighbors doing with everything?
We haven't received any complaints from the neighbors. We've been taking quite a few precautions to reduce the dust because the pool is operational
That was
now.
my next question.
We haven't, I touched base with John, and there hasn't been, we haven't gotten any complaints. So far, so good.
The wind was also blowing in the right direction this weekend. And then we have the contractors come out every Friday with the street sweeper to clean that whole area. And then we also have water connection
Yes.
so that we can wet down.
Yeah.
Any surprises?
So far, no surprises, other than finding some interesting stuff at the site, being an incinerator. So Liza had mentioned a large animal bone. We've also just seen some interesting glassware, including some old glassware from the Moraine Hotel.
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Like coffee cups
Cool.
and little coffee cup plates.
From
At
the-
Hotel Moraine.
The original hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
one on
What do you do with those?
Right.
Well, we have a little collection of some of them because we're going to put them to use.
Or we could give, if we have any extras to the Historical Society.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to.
Yeah, so we're collecting everything, and we have some staff here helping us out, making sure that we kind of clean it off.
I like to
So-
see them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
We should bring our little metal detector out there.
Might be too
For Friends
late.
to Beach. Any environmental issues, anything that you found from that, or?
No, we've done soil and water testing, and we are following the necessary
Protocols?
protocols for how to dewater and all that.
So didn't discover any asbestos or anything like that you didn't plan on, or?
No,
That's
just the asbestos that we handled at the building.
Okay. And the grading and the drainage, it's no issues with that right now?
So far, we haven't come across any issues.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we are on track, and knock on wood, I guess somebody, we haven't found anything yet.
Okay, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
It's early in the game.
It's early in the game, but getting past the excavation and not finding anything underneath, I think is a real hurdle, and then moving past the aggregate pier as will also be a good hurdle to go through. So
Great.
Super. Thank you.
yeah.
Great, thanks.
Can I get a second to clean my spill here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Would you
Look,
bring
leave
a
it to the
towel?
new guy to make
Terry,
to
would
make
you
a
bring
mess.
towel to clean Liza's spill?
Thanks.
He's so cute. Next. Oh, wait for.
Can you wait for Commissioner Grossberg to come back, or you
Yes, sir.
chomping at?
No, I'm good.
A lot of construction updates today.
you're going to have these every month until we're done.
Yeah.
Okay, next is an update on the Sunset Valley Golf Course renovation project.
So, just a quick update. I got some pictures to show you. Tonight, we've made really good progress the last 2.5 weeks since Memorial Day, since we haven't had any rain, substantial amount of rainfall. So the construction crew has been able to rock and roll and get a lot of progress made. So the first picture, it's kind of tough to see from this far away, but this is the expansion between 16 and 17 pond. So this got expanded to the south, and this is going to help pick up the stormwater. We ran this new stormwater line system all the way to Sunset Road, and then this connects into this pond expansion between 16 and 17, and then filters down to the canal. So Rob Saunders, he's standing down in where the pond was expanded. So where he's standing right there is where the old pond used to be, and towards us is where the expansion happened. And that kind of goes down in between 16
What
and
do you mean,
17.
it's where it used to be? You moved, it's completely moved?
Well, they dug it out to the south, more south.
More south.
Yeah. So if you're on 16T, it's more towards the tee box
Got it.
where they
And then
dug it
more
out.
towards the green.
Or that'd be the north, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the north.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. And then more towards 17 green.
Got
17
it.
green.
Okay.
Here is the Pogo drainage system.
I have one more question back.
Yep.
Is that from the Pogo building, is that where it's draining into? Or another?
No. So Pogo is draining into 3 separate bioswales, which I'll show you on the
Okay,
next slide.
great. Okay, thanks.
So Pogo drainage system there's 3 separate bioswales that filter through 15, the left side of 15 fairway, to the right side of 15 fairway, to the front of 15 fairway, which this is the picture of, then into the canal. So this rock stream basically cleans the water and filters the water to the canal, and acts as a buffer before it gets to the
Is there going to be
stream.
standing water, or how's that going to work?
Some of the invert elevations will have standing water in it, but it'll be in this, we're going to get some decorative rock to put.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It'll be a pretty.
It's going to be like a pretty pebble rock on both sides of 15.
And how do you cross it, or do you cross it?
You'll cross it, it'll just be on the, it's not going to, you'll still have the cart path to the left of
Okay.
15 fairway, and then you can just drive down the middle of the fairway.
And the walkers will be able to
Yeah, walk right there. It's just going to be on both sides of it.
And
It's not in a tee shot, a landing area.
and this is all environmentally.
All environmentally friendly. This will be wetland plantings down here, and then we'll do bluegrass on each side of the fairway, just for playability.
Okay. Is that going to flower, those wetland plants, or what?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
There's like I want to say in the seed mix, I think the varieties there were like 24 or 25 different varieties of the wetland mix that's going in these areas.
It'll be pretty when it flowers.
No, it would be beautiful. But like if a heavy rain comes, this will be full of water, but it can withstand
Yeah.
that. So this is the old, I just want to illustrate. So this is the old storm sewer we replaced. So this is probably 100 years old,
Wow.
if you can tell from that picture. And then we replaced it with a new 24-inch storm sewer.
And
And
where's
that
this-
runs all the way to Sunset Road,
From where?
all throughout the golf course, the whole golf course, through, well, it connects into the canal by 17T, by that back tee on 17, runs up to 15 or 16, 17 pond, then runs all the way across 17 fairway, 18 fairway, 8 fairway, 9 fairway, and then collects along the street. So all that runoff goes right in here. Instead of crossing any of the fairways, it collects all in this new storm sewer.
Where's the end?
Right along Sunset Road. You know where those homes are on
Yeah.
Sunset right there?
Yeah.
Right there. It has a catch basin right there where it collects
So
everything.
does it go into the city storm
Yes, sir.
from there?
Yep.
So instead of going over the golf course, it's being
Collects.
captured into this and then going into the city
Stream,
storm?
yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So this is what I wanted. So this is, I just want to bring, this is what Rick gives to the shapers every week. We look at what we're working on, and then he takes notes, and this is how we're trying to bring this to life on the golf course. So this is his illustration of
That's
how
the
the
golf
new
course architect.
Rick Jacobson,
Jacobson.
golf course. So this will be like the new, if you can envision 15 approach and green, this is how the new green is going to look. And you can kind of see the mounding, the roll off on the right side, the new bunkering, and then the green shape.
I mean, you can see 8 from the
Yeah.
street.
I know, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with this, but you see that from.
You can see a little bit on here, but it's not even close to being up. 15's getting close,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is going to be.
It's hard.
I mean, it's not going to be it's not. Well, it's going to be. You'll be fine. You'll be good. But it's going to give you really good shots, and I just wanted to show you how you get the different viewing angles, how you have to approach a green shot. It's not going to be like just straight shot. There's going to be some movement
You have to
to
think.
everything. You're going to have to. It's going to be a shot maker's dream because you're going to have to really think about your next shot going up to it. But you can also run the ball up. So if you're not as good of a golfer, you can putt your ball up to the green.
So what this is the little drawing that's used to give to the guys who are doing the work.
Correct.
And it's like their blueprint.
Exactly. And I wanted to illustrate that to you guys tonight.
Does the total renovation of this change the handicap of the holes themselves? Like,
That's a great question, and I think you're correct. I think we'll have to have somebody from the CDGA come out, the Chicagoland
yeah.
Association, come out and re-rate the golf course, each hole. But yes, it does. Will probably change. You're exactly right. But this picture doesn't do it, but this is 15.
Wow.
And you can see it better when you're out there, but this is kind of how everything gets removed. And this is all clay. Now, 4 inches of topsoil gets redistributed before we seed. So all that topsoil will go back on before we seed. But this is just like clay. This is just the subsurface of of the soil, the ground.
Where are you getting the topsoil?
We stripped it from the site.
So
It's just stockpiled.
it's stockpiled.
Yeah, so they'll just have to redistribute it once prior to seeding and fine shaping. So this is really, really cool. And you could probably see it better on your computers, but this is the pond expansion. They started last week on 4 to do the Peninsula Green. So this morning, we just got the rock wall in, so they're going to start putting the rock wall in probably beginning of next week, maybe the end of this week. So they'll build that, and then they'll shape that green. But these pictures don't do it justice. Liza can attest, this is going to be a
Yeah.
huge lake with this. It's going to look, from the back tees, it's going to look like an island green. It's going to be a tough shot.
Great.
But it's going to be cool.
That's from the back tees. You business being at the back tee.
And that's a really good point, because that's one of the things that we're going to have to watch out for, is making sure that you don't have the average Joe player hitting from the back tees, because it will be hard for them. But that's
Yeah.
why we have 5,
5 sets of
There's
tees, so
choices.
yeah, you have a choice.
because it will really slow
Are
play.
we taking before and after shots? Because as a non-golfer here, I think I can appreciate it. I think the residents will, to say,
Yeah.
okay, because you're saying something like, I'm not familiar with it enough to know.
Yeah, no,
how great
we
it's gonna
have-
be.
that's a
But
great question.
Yeah, but I think it'd be very helpful to non-golfers to say, oh, wow, this is, I don't really play golf, but I can see this. And then obviously the golfer appreciates it more because they can use it.
Yeah, so we took all before pictures, and then we also did
Drone.
So that was like back in March, and he's going to come out again at the end of June, end of July. Right,
Is
yep.
that when the work will be done?
No, the work, knock on wood, it will be done hopefully middle of September, I'm
Okay.
guessing. It would be a really good estimate. They'll be done. The goal is to have all the seating done by September 8th. That's in my time frame. I'd like to make sure we have it done. Just give us a window where it's still warm out and still
Okay.
good grass growing weather. Because the ultimate goal is to have for like 95% of the golf course grown in by the winter. Because anything you really don't have grown in, you give your better chance for unwanted grasses to grow in come the springtime. So you really want to try to hope for a really good germination this fall and get as much grown in as possible. But yeah, middle of September is when I hope they get out of there. And then, as Cal mentioned, you can see from the road, here they were just finishing the subsurface grade for number 8. They come in with they do the rough shaping with like a bigger bulldozer type machine, and then they come do the finish the subsurface grade with just a skid steer Bobcat. And then next week, Rick will come out. Rick was out today. We did a long site visit and got everything. He made his notes and to give to the shapers, and then starting next Monday is when they'll do the drainage and the gravel layer and the greens mix. Starting soon, they'll do the drainage system for the greens, and then start finalizing the greens. Some of them that are done starting on Monday. But so far, everything has gone really good. There's always a few surprises with the irrigation lines that are some are a little shallower when they need to be, because some of the drain lines go right through them, so we got to move them a little bit. Some of the drainage system needs to be repaired here and there, but so far, so good. If you came out there, it's really dusty right now. As Liza can attest, it's very, very dusty. But
Follow Ryan at the cart.
the amount of drainage going in to me is amazing, because to have really good turf, you have to have a really good drainage system, and that's what we're putting in, an amazing drainage system to keep the water off the playing surfaces. But other than that, everything's on schedule. We're under budget. Just really happy with what Rick's doing, and Wadsworth has been, they're getting after it. They're working 10-hour days right now, and they're working Saturdays. So 7 to 5:30 during the Monday through Friday, and then 9 to 5 on Saturday. So they'll probably do that until the end. Unless the seating, they might work 7 to 7 during the week.
You just said something about the budget.
Yes,
I didn't hear.
under budget.
We're under, can you do a little louder?
Under budget.
On time and under budget.
On time and under budget.
Great.
Yes, sir.
To answer Terry's question, any issues with the neighbors, any concerns?
To be honest with you, the only issues with the neighbors is they always ask me, can you help me out some more?
We work on their property?
Well, they want, hey, can you open up the views so my house can see the views of the golf course?
I got it.
No, they've been, to be
They want to advertise their houses.
yeah, exactly. They want some golf course views now. No, they have been, to be honest, like, great. I mean, just unbelievably nice, really nice.
Has anybody been trespassing? Any issues with
I
that?
mean, we have people coming out there all the time, but,
Okay, no, okay.
I mean,
There's one neighbor raised the concern that there was a family of otters living under one of the bridges. And wanted to make sure that we were taking care of the wildlife, which we
yeah,
are.
we had some deer out there the other day, so it was really nice. Other than that, any questions? Anybody have any questions?
No, good report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Rec Center of Highland Park construction update, Mitch and Brian.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
So Mitch and I are here to give you an update on the Recreation Center of Highland Park renovation. We're very pleased that we should have Phase 1 completed very soon. So we have some progress pictures here for you and certainly answer any questions that you have. So this is a quick flashback to 1 month ago when we showed you the progress at that point. And you can see at that point a month ago, we had gotten on, all the drywall had been completed here, and we had built the space for the new partition wall, and the new track for the partition wall was in. And we had not yet had much progress with, obviously, the flooring or with any mirrors, as you can see over here to the right, but we had finished the window, the additional window over here. Nothing in the ceiling yet as far as lighting or the ceiling clouds that we had mentioned were going to be installed soon after this. So if you take here before, so now the partition wall is in, so this wall actually folds up into this space right over here. The paint is on the walls. Up here you can barely see it, but the ceiling clouds have been installed. Where my mouse is right now is actually one of the speakers for the sound system, so the sound system has been installed. All of the fire suppression and smoke detectors have been installed. Those are in. If you recall, last month we had talked about installing these ceiling clouds was going to create a delay for us because we had to get a new permit for the new fire suppression because it had to accommodate fire suppression below the ceiling clouds as well as above the ceiling clouds. So quick update on that. We did receive the permit. It did take the full 21 days that we knew it might take, so that did take the full amount of time. And we did have an inspection since then as well. We did find a couple more things we have to accommodate, some fire caulking in the ceiling, as well as moving some of the ventilation so that it's not, again, over the ceiling clouds, but it can get direct contact to the floor where all the participants will be. So unfortunately, it's going to delay us again about another week. I'll go over that timeline here in just a few seconds, but this is a picture of the floor being installed. The floor looks beautiful. It's a bamboo floor. We don't have a complete picture of it done because, as you can see over here, it's now covered so that the remaining work does not cause any issues with the floor. So it's covered in this picture here, but it does really brighten up the room. And then we have a picture of our new fitness equipment, the Queen-X piece, which was also installed a few weeks ago.
Before you go,
Yeah.
could I talk about the sliding wall? I have a lot of experience with this.
Okay, great.
This is how they create classrooms out of gyms and other types of spaces. Do the movable wall bolt down into the floor?
It does not bolt into the floor.
Yeah, so what happens is once you put all the panels in, there's a crank that seals it against the door and makes it nice and tight against both sides of the wall.
Right, so you got the crank. Do you need a key to open it?
A key to open
The door, it's to actually start the mechanism going, or
It's
can anybody
manual.
do it?
It's manual.
It's manual, but, no, I understand it's, yeah, but is there literally a key that you insert somewhere to get the whole thing going, or can anybody do it?
Anybody could do it. There's no key to start it or anything. It's all.
And everything folds in, like you said, over there. You have to move it Have you seen it mechanized? Yeah, I could see you have to move it onto a right angle and back, and that's a lot of times where the trouble occurs. So whoever's in charge of that, you have to be real gentle on those 90-degree curves. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, we had a really tight space to work with, and we wanted to maximize the size of the room. And then, of course, there was some piping, that we had to work around and some things. So it's a little bit of an awkward angle, but it does increase our space in the room. So it worked out really well, and we were actually opening and closing it today. And it's a little awkward, but it's very smooth though.
Okay, good.
So we're happy with it.
I'm sorry, one last question about that. Is there a rubber kind of flap that goes down so it pretty well seals in terms of sound as well?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I know that was one of the options we wanted to have, as high grade sound, between the rooms as we possibly could.
Yeah, it's that bottom thing that gets torn up too.
Right.
And the noise suppression is what happens when that starts, that goes.
Right.
When those start to go.
Yeah, so in this picture you can see light through there. We just kind of pulled it out so that you could see a sample. This wasn't fully installed.
Right.
Once it is fully installed, those flaps actually then come down so that they're not going across the floor when you move the wall out, and then it locks into place and drops down into place. That seal that you're talking about that's really necessary to keep the sound in.
Okay. This is also a nice picture here over to the right. This is our actual unit with the accessories on it, the Queen-X unit. And you can see it accommodates, how many people? 14 people in a group exercise class. We're actually going to be training our group exercise staff this weekend in the space to use this new piece of equipment. And they're really excited about that. So it's a really, really cool piece of equipment. So I just explained basically the progress that's happened over the past month. As I said, the ceiling clouds, it's really been the biggest culprit of some of the delays that we've had with the fire suppression and then with the HVAC and such, and the permit. So, but it's installed, and remaining work for this week, we do have a walkthrough on Friday, which will be a substantial completion, and we'll do a checklist for the lower level. And by that time, we should have, there's one small section of drywall that has to be finished, which is where the new fire suppression is, so we had to wait on that part. So that drywall will be done. It'll be taped and sanded, and then the mirrors should be installed by the end of the week. And by Monday, they will begin and should complete the final painting of the room. So really, by next Wednesday, we should have all the lights in and the ceiling fans, and it really should look ready by hopefully next Wednesday or Thursday. And then we'll go for our occupancy permit either Thursday or Friday. And the plan is to be completed, so it's a week from this Friday, and then we can open the following Monday and start on the phase 2, which will be the upstairs.
Can I ask a quick question while this picture's up?
Yeah.
How high up is the Queen-X?
To the top, it's 9'6", and then our drop ceilings go to 10.
How hard will it be to hang the equipment for classes and then take it down? Because we're using it for aerobics or group acts as well, and that.
So they actually, if you've used the current TRX room, and the TRX strap is a little kind of flimsy, it's hard to kind of move around.
Right.
The actual attachments are stiff, and they go right around those bars. I actually asked the same question, and they showed me how to do it. It's easy. It's actually a lot
just
easier.
A hook?
Yeah, it actually, that piece that you see there is a stability bar, a functional trainer.
Oop.
And so there's two pieces that go.
You want this?
Yeah. They go across a straight bar, and they easily just snap right in. So it's actually really easy.
So there's a class right after TRX. It can be put away.
It can be put away quicker than the current TRX that we have right
Okay.
now. Yep. And actually, students can help us take it down. It takes a few seconds.
And I think to add to that, the bar also has a sliding track And maybe it's the one next to it, there's a sliding track on it
Right,
where
for the-
punching
the weight bags are.
weight bags, and they'll slide so they don't have to be
Right,
taken
but
down.
this is
No, mine,
right in the middle of the room.
yeah, so is that.
All right.
Okay.
So you said that, so we're looking at like two and a half weeks, and then the space will be ready to be used. We'll start.
Yep. Yep, so this Friday will be our substantial completion, so we'll do a walkthrough with the architect and with the contractor, our construction, and we will do a final punch list to say, here's a couple things we have to fix, or things that got missed, and all of those will be fixed the week after, and then we'll have occupancy, so a week from this coming Friday, which I think is the 23rd?
23rd is
Mm-hmm. And then we'll open that following Monday.
Has the schedule been adjusted at all for time to turn the room over? I know with Spin, for example, sometimes it wasn't enough time to get in and out. Is there any change to that, or you feel good about how we've been doing it, or?
Yeah, so right now, you know, the schedule itself will mirror a lot of what we're already doing, and the summer is a good testing ground for some of these new formats that we're going to use the Queen X4 to see how well it resonates with membership to prepare for the fall.
Okay.
But you know, with all of the classes, it's going to give us a lot more opportunity to run the classes that are sometimes smaller and they take up the, you know, let's say there's 12 people in a class, and Studio One doesn't need or has much bigger capacity for that. You might be able to run 2 classes now, divide that wall in half, or even have some trainers use the other half of the room while the smaller class is using the other side. So as far as the overlap, yeah, the schedule is being built in a manner that will allow free flow.
Good, okay.
Excellent. Any other questions about the lower level, Phase 1? Okay, we'll move on to Phase 2. So the upper level, the last Thursday, we actually had 3 new rooftop units installed at the rec center. Those 3 units, one is over the fitness floor, so it services the fitness floor. The other 2 are for the new group box room downstairs, and then for the spin and yoga studios. So those have been installed, and those are functioning and operating well. I have a picture of those in the next slide here, but the upstairs hasn't been a lot of progress because we're waiting to finish the downstairs before we can do the real heavy lifting to finish the upstairs. But the drywall and paint has been completed in this supervisor's office here and in this trainer's office, and then the electric has been set up and the data and coax. So all of the data and basically the coaxial for the cable TV and all the fitness equipment used to be stored in this office right here, and we moved it all to the new office, the new closet, which is over by the spin studio. So we did that one afternoon, and so that's ready to go. So it'll actually save us some time in the remaining parts of the second phase. Here's just some pictures. Over on the left, it's just a picture of the crane that we had last Thursday. As you can see, it was right in front of the rec center. We did end up closing for the morning for the safety of all the participants, so we did not have anybody inside the building. On the right here, you can just see this is the training supervisors, the trainer's office here, and it's been painted. All the drywall has been done, so we just need to put in the carpet, and that will move forward. So, from a financial standpoint, we're about 40% into the project. So, we've been invoiced from Bowler Construction for the past 3 months, $350,000 approximately. Our soft costs were over half. We've paid for the Queen X in the lower level. We still have to pay for the remaining Queen X that goes in the new training studio upstairs, as well as some IT costs that will come through. And there's nothing that's been spent with the contingency yet, but I think with the change orders this next month, we will see some of the contingency being used with some of the additions that we had to make with the ceiling clouds and such. So finally, just an estimated project schedule. We added in there that the final walkthrough for the punch list will be this Friday, and we anticipate completion of Phase 1 for the lower level will be next Friday, June 23rd. We've already begun Phase 2 in that member retreat area. And then the remaining part of Phase 2 will begin once we complete Phase 1, so that'll be June 26th, that Monday. And then Phase 3 is still planned to be on schedule with the facility closing August 21st through 31st. And again, we have not announced that yet, but the latter half of that will be a partial closure. So hopefully we'll be able to keep the lower level open as we complete the upper level carpeting, new fitness equipment, and things like that. The estimated grand opening is looking like September 1st.
Yeah. When's Labor Day?
It is the
Cal?
I mean, this is great. I mean, after hearing these 3 reports with all the years of planning we've done, and now this is our year of action. It's great.
It's great.
And with this project, I thank both Bernie and Brian for taking their leadership on it because it's turned out great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Next, Liz will tell us about renaming Sunset Valley Golf Course.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, this is probably not as exciting as all of the great reports on the progress of our projects, but it is a recommendation that we would like the board to consider, and it is renaming Sunset Golf Course to, or I'm sorry, Sunset Valley Golf Course to Sunset Valley Golf Club. It may seem like a very small change, but it does fall under our facility and park naming policy, and it will require the board to approve an ordinance after a 60-day waiting period. So the reason why we're making this recommendation is two-pronged, changing course to club. The first reason is after looking at some historical documents, we believe that at some point, perhaps in the 1920s and 1930s, Sunset Valley was called a club. We don't have, complete documentation on it, but we have seen documents in the 20s and the 30s that referred to it as Sunset Valley Golf Club. We also believe that with the new course, new clubhouse, all of the new renovations that are happening, that changing the name to club really will connect to our golfers, potential golfers, and to our residents, and really do justice as a name and a brand for this brand new renovated facility. So that's the process. Attached to the memo is the draft ordinance that we've prepared, and it will have to sit, now that, if you have any questions, and after this presentation, it will have to sit for 60 days with the hope that the board will revisit it and approve it at our general meeting in August. Any questions?
Do we know the expense in terms of, it used to be a big thing, what, stationery and envelopes and matchbooks and, whatever. Is there a dollar amount that it would cost to change this?
Actually, this is a very good time to do it because the signage, that's really where the bulk of the cost would come, is going to be redone anyway as part of the renovation project. So if ever there was an optimal time to make a change, now is the time. Stationery, things like that, a lot of that we can do just off of a printer here in the office. It's really not something that you have to take to a printer anymore. It also is a great time to do it because all of the ordering of apparel, flags for the holes, all of that is
T-markers,
planned to be
everything.
done now, and now is a good time to do it because we can
Scorecards.
scorecards.
Got to put Ryan's name on the scorecard.
And also advertising, everybody's linked into these different value golf sites and apps and things like that. How about now, do you think the primary mover is that we'll bring more golfers we're hoping, to the club by calling it a club? Or is the idea to have it be some sort of retro idea a la Wrigley Field or something like that? Their idea was in 1938 or 1935, this was when Wrigley Field was the most modern, most up-to-date, most envied stadium. So they've renovated their stadium to reflect that era now. So is there any sort of classic Sunset Club thought to this?
Yes, it pays homage to both the history of the Sunset Valley as well as we believe is a better brand for the new golfers and for our residents, and just to really showcase and provide a brand recognition to this brand new, renovated, beautiful facility. So we think that it could achieve both.
So is there some sort of plan to present some sort of retro thing like that? Like if
A retro logo?
Branding you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I know we changed the logo. You know, that was our meeting, our last, what we talked about that. But if the genesis of this idea was because you found back in the 20s and 30s, it was once called a club, I'm just wondering if there was any signage or anything like that
That we could-
you'd want to reflect.
That we could use
Yeah.
now.
That
The
you'd-
same
yeah,
style and design.
Right.
Yeah,
That's all I'm thinking. I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there was I think it was an old scorecard that had an image on it that was used in one of the very first presentations by, I believe, Rick Jacobson. But there's no evidence or no pictures of anything that picture actually was the logo. It didn't have the name on it. It was a little line drawing of a golfer in a circle. But there was no real evidence that it ever had been the actual logo that was used. It was just something that was on a scorecard. But other than that, I have not really seen anything that shows a vintage logo for the facility.
And we're not opening a vintage course. So we have to be
No,
careful
right.
about that.
Right, but I do like the old
Yeah.
look, and they've done that with baseball
With those little
stadiums.
pants that come to the knee.
I think it's
If it
great
would help
that
my
it's so
games, I
subtle.
would do
You
it.
know, we're still, SVGC. It doesn't
We
change
still
that.
are. We
So
still
it's
are,
subtle.
yeah.
It's kind of like what you did here with, you're like, oh, this looks familiar. Something's a little different. It's
Exactly.
just tweaked. I think it's
just,
a great
it's
idea.
just tweaked, and we think that it's going to provide a much stronger connection to golfers, to potential golfers, and for residents. We think it's going to be, again, be the best brand to use to try to make that connection for this facility, is to change it from course to club.
I actually have a poster from the 1950s advertising Sunset Valley Golf Club. I will bring it in.
Please do.
A friend of mine found it at
Right.
a antique store up in Gurnee. Took a picture, said, "Do you want it?" I said, "Absolutely."
That would be great. Love to see it.
It's this big, but it's from the early 1950s.
And we believe at some juncture, it was changed to course somewhere probably between the 1950s and today, and we'd like to take it back to club, because we also feel that for today's modern golfer and for potential customers, we think it just makes a better connection. Plus, it has the added advantage that it probably was the original name to begin with.
Right, and I'll bring the poster in. It's framed.
Is there going to be some sort of press or promotion after this is approved? Is there some sort of ballyhoo about this? that you're gonna
I
do?
believe that it probably just from a timing standpoint, to unveil the name when we actually open the new facility, but that's something that we can certainly discuss. Just off the top of my head, as a marketing person, I would think it would be best to unveil everything all at one time. But we might decide to do it early on.
Yeah.
I think
for
you're on,
discussion.
Liz. I think that's the way we should do it. You know, this isn't about the name. It's kind of all happening at one time, and we don't want to dissect this project because it's really, you know, it's
It's
a combination
one
of
big-
all this
yes.
work, and it's like, oh, and here's an updated name. I also think the other reason that club works over course is because it's exclusive, but it's inclusive at the same
Exactly,
time.
exactly.
You know, clubs mean you're part of something, but then here, you know, it's our community. It's not a public course. It's our well, I guess it is a public course, but for really more for residents. So I think it's a really nice subtle
Community
change.
course, yeah.
I just wouldn't want to Terry, I just wouldn't want to like beat the heck out of it, like the name, you know, because it's really not marketing. I think it's just like the timing, like what happened with Deer Creek. It's just kind of like, boy, this name doesn't fit. We've made some changes. We've won some awards, and you know, I think it's really kind of backwards because it's going to be the new course. It says then you'll hear Sunset Valley Golf Club versus, oh, they've changed the name to a club. Look what they've done. It's the other way around. It's just more apropos, I think, of what we're presenting. It's like a club. It's really kind of a cool thing.
And it'll be a big ta-da moment.
It will.
Did you think about, at any time, consider like Sunset National, Augusta National? That we're gonna, maybe the Masters will move to this course? Is that,
Okay.
no, it wasn't considered?
We did.
Okay, just wondering. That's all I'm saying.
I do think there. I spoke to a gentleman. Is Rob here? Betcher, Tom Betcher, really nice guy. He's an older fellow, and he wants to do like senior. He wants to do senior. He does senior tournaments, and he says there's a you know a group of men. I'm sure there's women. They travel. They're retired, you know, and you know we should see how everything turns out, and you know maybe that's something we could incorporate. Start having senior tournaments.
Absolutely.
You know, let's bring them back. They're bringing their sons in, and they're bringing their grandchildren. And that's, you know, Cal, you've always said we need to bring in new golfers. So we start, you know, with the root of it and really build it.
I mean, we talked about that. I mean, talking about the grand opening, I mean, we should be reaching out to Hank Haney. I don't know if we've thought about that. I don't know if you know who Hank Haney is. Hank Haney was Tiger Woods'. When Tiger Woods was winning golf tournaments, he was his swing coach. And he grew up playing at Sunset Valley Golf Course.
Oh,
He's from
perfect.
Deerfield. And Hank Haney, and then
Joel Hirsch.
Joel Hirsch, who's also who's won on the senior tour. He's expressed, and we try to bring him into it. So I mean, bring into the heritage of the club. I mean, people don't realize. I believe in the 20s or the 30s that the Ryder Cup team actually had a practice at Sunset Valley Golf Course. So I think that that's something to promote. There's this grand history of very accomplished golfers and teachers and events that have occurred at this course. And again, that's what we heard when we did our green print process. Is that this was the legacy course of this town, and that there is a tremendous amount of history that we need to promote. I mean, what Terry was saying, the Wrigley Field thing, thinking about all the different things that have happened in that course, and we should embrace that. Even though it is going to be new, but it also has all of this history, and it's all good history.
Absolutely, and actually, to your point, that is kind of, we're in the midst of pulling together the marketing plan, and that actually is part of the plan. If any of you know of any golfers that have a lot of history that started playing at Sunset Valley that are still around, we would love to do some video interviews with them to find out what the course was like then and their excitement about the new course today and what potential it holds
My
for
suggestion is
the
to reach out to
community.
Ed Sherman, who has the
yeah.
radio show,
Yeah.
because he has a relationship with Hank Haney, and he may know other golfers, because he's the one who told me about Hank Haney used to play at Sunset, grew up playing at Sunset.
Joel Hirsch will do, I think Joel Hirsch would do it without question. And
Okay,
he
so
grew up
those are the
playing
people that we
Sunset
need to
Valley.
engage, and when we roll out the course and reintroduce the course to the community, that those are the people that
Yes.
that
It's going to be fun.
Yes.
It'll be
Yeah,
really
there's-
exciting.
there's
I'd
definitely-
love to see just all of the people that we will be able to
And-
get
and
in
There's a
next
lot of
time-
opportunity here, for
And
sure.
the next time we have our golf advisory committee meeting, we can bring that up and try to plant seeds with them and see so they can brainstorm about it also.
You know, something, for you guys to think about, just some more seeds, the Champions Banquet, maybe at some point we do a golfer, or maybe we do an event in itself, like a Champions, not to compete with it, but golf, and really bring the golfers out.
Yes. It's exciting times.
Yes, it is.
Good project. So just to conclude, we are requesting that the board consider this change. It does have to sit for 60 days, and in August, we'll come back at the general meeting, and it will be re-presented for potential approval.
Do we have to have 60 days following a regular board meeting, or 60 days from today, which is a workshop meeting?
From today, but I believe it has to be approved at a regular board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, 2016 year-end financial report.
This is really going to be a difficult act to follow. Okay. Nice to see everybody this evening at the Mays board meeting. The audit was presented to the board, and it was approved at the board, by the board at that time. It was requested at that time that I come back to the workshop and present the financial information in a little more detail. The audit presentation was definitely an overview of our accounting policies, principles, and then where the financials were, definitely from that bird's eye view. So tonight's presentation, I'm going to keep it kind of brief because I do believe you've been seeing a lot of these numbers as we've gone through the year, as well as reading the audit. But this presentation is just in a little more detail. See if I can find this. So 2016 year in review. I'm briefly going to touch on the revenues by fund, expenditures by fund as well, and then try to dive into the bottom line of the rec fund operations. So it might be easier for you to follow along on your screen than on the TV at the moment. But here is the 2016 summary. From top to bottom are the general fund, the special rec, recreation, debt service, capital projects, and then the budget, the year-to-date activity, and the remaining budget. I just want to take this opportunity to note that this is the same format that the treasurer's report is in, and I just want to take this opportunity to, when Encode, which is our financial system, is printed, it presents the reports, this is the order of the columns. The first column is always the budget, the second column is always the activity, and then the remaining budget. And what the system is doing is literally the mathematical calculation of A minus B equals C. So when you are looking at this, as an example, the general fund, our revenues were actually higher than budgeted. Are you having trouble with the?
My screen went to.
I just re-clicked on that.
Do I need to?
Go to the board thing and
Is that working now?
I found it anyway.
I was able to get it back. So.
I've got it here. It's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So as I was saying, so as an example, the general fund's revenue, we are actually ahead of revenue, and yet the budget remaining is in parentheses because the formula is A minus B equals C. So it's not intuitive when you're looking at that budget remaining. It's not making it a positive. So when you're looking at revenues, when it is in a parenthesis, that's actually a good thing. Expenses, when they are not in parentheses, that is also a good thing. So just to go through this real quickly, the general fund had a surplus of about $1 million. Special rec had a surplus of $24,000. The recreation had a surplus of $296. Our debt service had a surplus of $653, and the largest surplus, it was in the capital fund at $1,068,000. So our overall for 2016 is $2.4 million, better than we had anticipated in our budgeting. And really the main factor, it's not that we had that much of a surplus. It's simply because in the capital fund, we had budgeted for our green print projects to begin a little sooner than what actually happened in 2016. To your credit, the board took their time in the planning process, working through the design of definitely the Pogo and the Sunset Valley projects to make sure that we were, we were on spot, on target on what we were doing. So that delayed the beginning of the construction. However, the budget was not adjusted, and it wasn't needed to be. So So it's not as if there was a savings there as much as a delay in payment. Those funds will be utilized now in 2017, as you've heard. So diving in for a little more detail. And I can kind of tell you where some of this money is coming from. The general fund, the additional revenue, a little greater than budgeted, was as a result of the impact fees that we receive from the city. We do not budget for those. We take a very conservative approach to that budgeting, and we received more impact fees than we had anticipated. That's the bulk of that $238,000. The special rec, we're actually under budget a little bit, and that's just a budget to actual with the levy. Revenue from the recreation fund is also under budget a little bit, but I'd like just to point out that it's under budget by 1%. And when you're talking about $15 million, to me, that's pretty spot on. That's not a big variance at all. The debt service fund is nearly a zero variance, and again, the capital projects is a little ahead of budget, and that has to do with the premiums received on the bond, on the 2016 bond issuance. So I think this is a slide that is kind of informative in that it presents the crust of it is Fund 29. So which areas of operation are bringing in the most revenue, or where is our revenue coming from? That's a question that the board asks me time to time, and you can kind of see the percentages. So of the $15 million that came in through the rec fund, this is the percentage distribution. So some of the facilities, we account for them in multiple cost centers. So the rec center, that total is 17%. Deer Creek, which is 55 and 56, it's 11%. And then the Highland Park Country Club is at 20% of the revenue. The other ones, the other centers are kind of standalone for their operations. Any questions there? Or? Okay, so moving over to expenditures. Most areas, except for debt service, which was off by $741, so that's definitely immaterial. We're under budget for a variety of different reasons. In the general fund, I think we over budgeted for contractual services, and so for the 2018, now that we have looked at 2016 numbers, we'll really be reevaluating the contractual service. And please understand that the general fund consists of our administration, our parks, our planning, and the communication. So there's a few different areas where that may have happened. Special rec, the expenditures are a little under budget. The recreation fund, those expenditures are also under budget, and that goes to the management and the programming that they're doing and their watchful eye. Like I said, debt service was pretty much spot on, and as I mentioned, the capital projects, that savings there is really just a relation to timing. So operationally, which areas? So again, this one kind of mirrors the revenue distribution. It's great when you're bringing in money, but where is the most of our money potentially heading out the door? Like I had said before, some of the centers we look at, or some of the facilities are operated in multiple centers. So 10% of our expenses are coming or supporting the rec center. Deer Creek is being supported with 5.6% of our expenditures, and then the country club is 12%. And then just to kind of summarize here, this is the bottom line. And I kind of shifted gears here a little bit, and I was presenting 2015 against 2016, just to give you a little bit of a benchmark. I don't have 2014 incorporated in here because 2014, if you remember, was that 9-month year, and it just makes it a little more complicated. So I'm actually looking forward to 2017 and being able to present this to you next year and having 3 years of a comparison. The difference in this worksheet is that the centers or the facilities that are operated or accounted for under multiple centers, it's kind of, I've already consolidated them for you here in the presentation. I do want to note, though, that there is a typo with athletics. Their difference was not 101, it was 53,000. So that 101 is an error in my formula. I noticed that this evening when I was preparing for this presentation. So if you would like, I have some basic explanations for why things happen between the difference between the 2 years from the different centers. Do you want me to run through
Yeah.
them, or do you have some specific
No.
questions? I'm not sure how much detail you want me to get into.
I'd like to hear the details, but I just want to make sure I understand this, is that, let's just look at Centennial, for example. That's number 38, I assume. So that shows in 2015, we had a surplus of 242,000, is that what I'm reading this right? And in 2016, it was 314.
Yeah,
That's the good news. And
that's
then
the
you
good
look-
news.
Then you look down at the Highland Park Country Club, and you had it was a net negative of 277.
It was a deficit, yes.
Yeah, a deficit. And then in 2016, we almost lost $300,000 with that property.
Correct.
Can I ask a question
Okay,
that
I'll make sure I'm reading
dovetails
right.
on that?
Yeah.
Is that 299,000 and change the golf course plus the banquets?
Yes, it's
Plus the
consolidated.
dome,
It
plus-
is
so-
all of their operations. It's the 5 centers together.
Okay, so it's
It's,
the mini golf dome,
yes,
driving range, golf course, banquets,
not the dome.
not the dome.
It's the learning center.
Okay.
You're going to make me do this, right?
No, you don't have to.
No, I have it. I did.
No, you-
Okay. It's the learning center, it's the course and grounds, it's the building, it's the banquets, and then it's the cafe. Those are our 5
Oh,
centers.
okay.
And a part of that is the management fee that we pay to Kemper.
That is part of it. Yes, that is included in there.
And what's SPE?
Special
Oh,
events.
special events.
Special events?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So looking at this,
The revenue on the special events were pretty much the same as in 2015. The expenses just increased a little bit.
you
What's an
know,
example of that? What's the special?
4th of
event?
July?
4th of July.
Egg hunt.
Egg hunt, 4th of
Halloween.
July,
These are not
Halloween.
revenue-generating
No.
events anyways.
No, this is where we get into the conversation of the greater good to the community. As a park district, we take the attitude that we are going to provide activities and events for the community that we may take a loss on because of the greater good that it gives to the residents. If you've ever attended the 4th of July, that's a perfect example of the greater good, because you can just simply come out and enjoy the event, and it doesn't cost the community anything.
To dovetail on that, because it is important, because that is our mission. And in my Friday update that I sent to you last week, I had mentioned that we had a trainer in, and one of the, to talk to all of the staff about, we broken it down into 4 different sessions and targeted leadership and the value of what we do. But one of the things that he said that was really interesting, that has resonated with all of us, is that when you look at your community, it's really the park district that brings the whole community together. And, there are clubs that are exclusive, or you're this, between churches or schools or whatever have you, but it's really, we are the ones that build community. And that's really something to think about, because we touch people from cradle to grave. And we provide free events, we teach people life skills. So it's just really interesting how managing now and thinking about the value that we bring to the community and our ability to build relationships. You may not know your neighbor, but your neighbor and your kids are playing in a program together, and all of a sudden you learn to have a relationship with your neighbor. I mean, it's just, it was, for us Parks and Recreation people, it helps to reinforce what we do, and it's important that you guys know it, because you're making the decisions. Like these special events, they're great PR for us. People love special events of the Park District, and I think we did the math. We were trying to keep it, if there's 30,000 residents, we were spending $5 per person on special events. Now, we spent a little more last year, and we have had, as we enter into budget 2017, we have some charges to try and keep it back around that $5 amount, because it's great bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And just go to the Fourth Fest and you see it right there.
Yeah, so I don't mean to get off
Yeah,
on a soapbox, but it is important.
When I'm looking at this, and actually there's a couple figures that really really highlight, I want to highlight is, first of all, athletics. Traditionally, we've always lost money in athletics, and Kathy's shaking her head. And it's great to see that we've turned that around, and we actually have a slight net on athletics.
And I want to give credit to the athletic staff because there were some individual programs where the revenue was up and the enrollment was up because of their efforts, and yet they managed to run the program at the original budget expenses. So it is totally, a lot of it is management, and I got to throw in the Cubs too, because that fall ball, that fall baseball, I do have to throw that in there. But a lot of it was truly.
A lot of us are thankful for the Cubs around here.
One of the areas that I'd like to point out to you is 32 is the Rosewood Beach Interpretive Center, and in 2015 it had a surplus of $27,000, and that's the result of receiving grants related to the construction project. That because we were kind of still, it was kind of the residue. I don't like to use that word, but that's kind of what it is. Because we would not record the grants in 2014. I would record them in revenue when they're actually received. So that kind of skews a little bit. I think 2016 is truly a full year of standalone operation without any infringement from any construction or anything like that. And I think it's wonderful that for the first year out of the gate that facility turned a profit.
Yeah. And just going through the other ones, the ones that really stick out to me is number one, Sunset Valley. We've stopped the bleeding there, and I think we closed earlier last year, so that may explain some of the difference. But years past they were losing six figures, and now we're getting closer to breaking even under the old regime and the old course. So that's
again, there's been some management changes
Yes.
there, and some,
and also
and it's starting to show in the numbers.
And the other one, I know this is weather related, but Hidden Creek. I know that we spent some time doing some changes there, and it really shows, I think, in the numbers. I know that the weather may skew it and like to see over a longer trend, but it was closer to breaking even. With reintroducing the splash pad and taking out the sand, it looks like it. I'm curious to see what happens in 2017, but that may provide an explanation on that facility. So I think looking at these numbers, they're great. I mean, except for the last one, the bottom one.
Do the rec center numbers include the construction on 2016? Well, we didn't start it.
No, you didn't start it.
That's a big difference.
No. I was surprised that there was such a big difference, too. And the largest difference, our memberships, the fitness memberships were actually up by $100,000 and really prevented this area from having a smaller surplus or a greater deficit. The struggle was with aquatics, because you have a pool wrapped into this as well. Center number 53 is the indoor pool.
Okay.
And indoor pools, I think in 2016, we were going through some transitions with some staffing and all, and that is reflected in the numbers. So if it actually wasn't for the fitness side of the rec center, that really prevented
I
it.
just saw the numbers and thought.
Yeah, no, it's a
thought
great
right
question,
away.
and that's why I dove into it too.
No pun intended.
So I think as the aquatics, as things have changed now in the aquatics department, we're going to start seeing them coming back this way, and hopefully with the renovations that are happening at the rec center, that membership will continue to grow.
And HNC, that's Heller.
Heller.
Yes, that's Heller.
Which again, it's a remarkable facility. It's a policy decision. This is board. It's made over time that it's an important amenity that our teaching place for our community. And I get it. It's not a money making. It's it's a money losing endeavor. But again, we're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of providing recreation and services to our community is something that.
Inherently,
Yes.
it's 100 acres to be taken care of, and we're just never going to be able to program enough to cover those costs. So this definitely is a greater good conversation.
Yes, and-
Yes.
And the thing that I'll add to that is where we see trends, like the question that you asked about the rec center and the trend in aquatics, we are trying to, we accept that we operate to lose money. I mean, some of these facilities, we
Don't
don't
have to
operate
make
to lose money.
Yeah.
Correct. Our goal is if we're trending, we either want to trend a lesser loss or stay even. And so we have our radar on Heller and the pool, and we are hoping that programmatically we'll be able to make some changes so that while we accept that we lose money at these facilities, we just want to try and keep it steady, I
What's
guess is the
what are the
best word
numbers
for it.
behind Westridge?
Well, Westridge, I'm sorry, ask me
No,
that
I'm just-
question.
just what explains the numbers I'm looking at?
Most of our administration offices are here.
That's it. So we don't have
And
enough.
I don't even know what it is. Over half of this building is our administrative offices, and the programming that's done in this building is not going to cover it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Does this include taxes on the land or upkeep of the building? I mean, is that,
There's no taxes.
We don't pay,
Oh, you
yeah,
don't pay-
we
okay,
don't
I
pay
don't know.
property taxes. It is the upkeep of the building, yes.
Yeah.
So last year, we did some tuck pointing. There is always some painting. The building was painted, tuck pointing. And then, I don't want to say usually, but there is maintenance on all of the HVAC systems here and everything. They're all, none of them are new systems, so there is always that maintenance, and those costs are here in Westridge.
got it.
Any other questions?
Perfect. No, I've been wanting to see this. This is great.
know you
Thank
have.
you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Okay, next is the new facility rental policy. Mr. Rollins.
Thank you. So, staff is recommending some changes to our building use rental policy.
What? Do you want me to see what the guy wanted?
I think he's one of the neighbors. Do you remember when we were going through
Yes.
the
Yeah,
school?
he's-
things? I
yes.
think
Why
that's
don't you
what
go
it
see
is.
him? Let's take-
Westridge, damn it.
Westridge.
Go get him,
Yeah.
pal.
Because he's been here.
Yeah, it took me a while to connect it.
He's
But
been here and spoken, I just don't
Yeah.
remember.
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Let's take a 5-minute break then.
okay.
Yes, we may.
That's why.
We're having a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
Okay, Liza.
That's what Brian said. We're taking a break. I called it a recess.
I want to go to this family campfire.
Did you want to move up the resident input?
Hey, I want to go to this family campfire.
Yeah, those are always really fun.
Yeah.
What's the temperature, Dan Johnson? 72. You know what
That's why I
it
have a
is? It's
sweater.
that blower.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do this
Yeah.
neatly.
Right, that, no, no,
Neatly.
it's
If I
that.
go straight, do you want to go?
Yep.
Well, no, I'm
Yeah.
trained
It's
for
like
this
you
thing.
turn it on. It's,
Oh.
Yeah, got it.
All right, so
That's who that is. Thank you.
he does.
Yeah, the city
He
council,
was
he's
walking,
in
doing his
You know
walk, and he didn't feel like walking anymore, so he came into the building and.
Come on.
He's a neighbor in Westridge.
You know-
He goes, I have to be home at 7:15, and I didn't want to walk until 7:15.
That's funny.
How do we
He just had nothing to add. He goes, it was very interesting, but I
He was
just.
a camp counselor for me.
He was here when we
Sports
had
camp.
the
Oh, that's
discussion.
hilarious.
I'm dying.
He's my
Yeah,
we had
age.
the
He went to
district
school.
Yeah, you were
He looked
camp
healthy.
counselor.
Yeah.
Been here, he's spoken.
He was there with Westridge, with the school district.
112.
Yeah,
Adam Stolberg was
Yeah, why is
a
that?
sports camp counselor for me.
and now he's a councilman.
I am.
Yeah.
That really freaks me out.
Do we have a liaison to the city council?
He is.
No.
Oh, do we?
We don't.
We decided not to.
You are, Terry. It's coming up.
Yes.
Well, anyway,
You don't think,
Well, we'll,
Okay. Brian?
Hi. So we have some brief changes, slight changes to our building use rental policy that we're recommending. And just to give a quick overview, the building use rental policy really just defines our operational standards and business practices for the use of our rooms at all of our facilities. So first of all, it protects and ensures that all of our mission-critical programs and services have the first right and priority to use those rooms. But then secondarily, when the facilities are available, it sets aside some standards for use by residents, non-residents, not-for-profit or for-profit groups. So there's just a few updates that we made to address some customer conveniences, best practices, and improve business operations. And again, it's really these secondary uses that we're addressing, the birthday parties, bar and bat mitzvahs, things like that. The most biggest impact is the time frame for which residents can request the building use. So it was 90 days. So you had to wait until that 90th day before your rental date to even request a room usage. And what we found was that people who are planning birthday parties or bar and bat mitzvahs especially really want to request that room much sooner. So it's a better business practice. It allows us to offer the room at a much earlier time frame, so it's good for them. And what we found is if we don't do that, there were some at Westridge or the rec center where we didn't do it and they went elsewhere. So it ensures that we're maximizing the capacity of our rooms, and it generates a little bit of revenue to cover the operational expenses of the building, which is all good things for the residents, for the user groups, and for the building in our operations. So we did increase that. We changed the way a little bit that we accept applications. So it used to be that they would just fill out a form, and that form would basically become their rental permit. But now they can fill out an application at any point. So it could be a year in advance, and I could fill out an application. And as long as we know the availability of that room, we can rent it as soon as possible. But if we don't know if it's available, we can take multiple applications. And if we have a resident and a non-resident, that resident will get priority. So we clarified some of a priority schedule for that, a sequencing for approval, if you will, for residents versus non-residents and for-profit organizations. Other than that, we updated our process with cancellation, and we moved our permit to a more of a digital system. So it's the permit prints out of our new registration software, whereas in the past it was just that paper form. So it's really, this is just an update to our policy, which has not been updated in quite some time. So those are the major changes that we're requesting. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
no, in the past, when we rented out the rec center for bar mitzvahs, that was only 90 days in advance?
Yeah, so what we found was that we weren't really following our policy to a T, which was part of the problem.
I don't like to hear that.
Take the rec center over.
And what's that?
this policy
Well,
existed long before.
Yeah, this
the
is,
rec
what we
center.
found was that, when the rec center was built, I don't think we ever changed the policy. And as we've been looking at all of our policies, and we said this 90-day doesn't really make sense. We're really not doing this. Let's change the policy so we can actually follow what our
I think
policy
a lot of neurotic
says.
people want to wait 90 days before
Right,
bar mitzvah.
right. But there were some,
Invitations are going out, but we don't know where the party's going to be at.
but on the other hand, at Westridge, they were holding the 90-day to a T. It's been here for a long time,
Oh, okay.
and they were telling
We're gonna
people,
go
no,
business.
you can't come in.
It
for 90
originated
days."
here.
Yeah.
But now, do you guys do like dynamic pricing? In other words, if it's within, if it's sooner to the actual date and you haven't booked it yet, is there anything like that? It's the same price no matter what.
Resident, non-resident, we have different fees. We have, but yeah, other than that, it's,
would
there's
get too
after-hours
complicated.
fees, so if you
Yeah.
obviously
I
rent
mean, just
after
like
hours.
an app, like Hotels
Right.
Tonight.
Right,
It's, I want to book it tomorrow night. All right, it's $49.
right. No, we have not looked at that dynamic of the system.
How are the rentals at
We're not out of
Heller
business.
and how are the rentals at the Interpretive Center doing?
Rosewood has been picking up tremendously. We've started during the weekday rentals this summer, but we've really seen an increase in the weekend as well for this summer. Last summer was the first time we offered it, so it was, again, that night we were following more than 90 day at Rosewood, so now this kind of allows us to expand that a little bit, so we can, as long as we know our programs are in, we can take a rental sooner in advance.
What about Heller?
Heller has been pretty consistent, but we get some pretty good evening uses. A lot of community groups use the building, but we get some birthday parties.
Do we have any marketing materials?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do we disseminate those? What do we do for that?
Well, they're available, obviously, on our website, and they're available at the facility.
The brochures,
most-
things like that are in those.
Yep,
Yeah.
there's specific brochures for rentals, so when anybody comes into, and there's some at Rosewood, I believe, and there's some at Heller. All of our facilities, we have a rental brochure, so if you're interested in rentals. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
The seasonal brochure, we just redid the rental section, there are photos and birthday parties and all kinds of different events for all of our facility rentals. And on our new website that just launched last week, there is a special section at the very top that is for rentals and private events that you can click to that will give you all the information about all
And what do other districts do for their marketing? Do they do something similar to what we're doing, or do they do more aggressive, or
It is similar.
similar?
I mean, I do know that at the country club is part of the knot and some of the wedding websites, and they, participate in that as well because that's really their target. But yeah, it's very similar to what other districts do.
Okay.
But that brings up a really fun point we were just talking about, that Rosewood Beach, in addition to winning awards and everyone's so happy with it, it's become a photo destination for our community. We have formals, that's where formal pictures are taken, prom, graduation parties, graduation shots, and that's something I don't think we saw. But it was more the usage, but here's a whole other. It's the staple on Facebook. That's where I see happy events, family pictures being taken. So that's just an added bonus that I think it's in the forefront of people's minds. Like when I'm throwing a party, I know Park District has this, and I think Interpretive Center, correct me, is picking up. Because I know we tried to we ended up doing an event there, but we had to work around like a packed schedule, which is really exciting. So it's another
Use it
win.
when I renew my vows. Karen, don't write that. It's going to be a surprise.
You have to now, Cal.
That was going to be actually. Let's get that in the paper.
That's classic.
And then,
wife's name is Julie.
And then so then you can have the paper and say, "Look, I've announced to the world." I have a question about the policy, about private animals present at private parties. Excuse me. Obviously, service animals are excluded from the prohibition. Do we need to say it in here to make it clear? Has there ever been any conflict with the staff, or is it just clear?
I mean, I can't think of any time that's ever been a conflict. I think in those situations, we just allow where.
Wasn't there an elephant at the rec center for a wedding or something? Or was that the country club?
It was the country
It was
club
the country
outside.
club, yeah.
It was outside.
They wanted to bring it in.
Well, I think it gives the executive director the authority on that one.
Yeah,
Right.
but yeah, service animals are.
So the other thing I wanted to ask about is that we do have a policy statement that says room rentals will not be granted to political or campaign organizations. And there's a reason why we're saying that we're not going to do it, but is that really something that we want to continue, or is that a part of the market that we should maybe think about allowing to use the facility? This says to avoid the appearance of using public property to promote or advance any particular candidate. It's paragraph 5073D.
while you're looking, is there, I know the League of Women Voters had their thing there, but is there a lot of call for that? I mean, do people, I mean,
I'll give you an example. District 112, didn't they use our facility for?
They can use our facility to educate, but you can't politically campaign.
Some of this is Park District code. Some of this comes from Park District code.
Ordinance, maybe?
It's really more, I think it's our ordinance book. Well, you know, what, we'll check this one.
Yeah, because it's never come up, has it?
You know what, I'm just trying to think in terms of party lines. I mean, there was a discussion with 112 that the caucus of 112 wanted to bring their candidates to the country club, but then they had their caucus recommendations or caucus slate. We were just saying, we just need to be open to everyone so that we don't want to give the appearance that we are promoting one side or the other. And I think maybe this could be crafted, wordsmith, I guess is the word.
If it's available to Republicans and Democrats and third parties, I suppose.
Yeah, we need to double check that, because I know it's in our ordinance. I'm not sure, I can't remember if it's Park District Code. But the city has the same issue, so we'll check this.
What does the library do? I know they have meeting space.
They probably fall under this, whatever the city's policy is, because Gita and I have had these conversations, and they do not allow political campaigning on their properties either. So we'll double check this one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
IT policies with Dan Johnson.
Hello.
Hello.
So in your board packet, you have a memo regarding a series of information technology policies and procedures. Over the past year, the technology department has been working to develop a policy and procedure manual to meet current technological standards and ensure the integrity and security of all Park District information that we have. So in your packet, there's 13 policies that have been written. I'll go through each one individually briefly. So the first policy is an antivirus and malware protection policy. So that ensures that we are placing the appropriate programs on all computers and devices within the Park District to stop any malicious attacks. It actually intercepts all network traffic going on and just protects all the data that's on a computer that we have. And then there's the procedure side of it, which will outlay of how we have to handle those attacks that come into the Park District. The next policy that we have is destruction of technology. So every year we do surplus technology. So we just don't throw it away. We actually go out and look for an accredited company that is in accordance with the Department of Defense. They follow NEID standards and R2 standards as well as EPA. So that's all data that we send to a recycle company is destroyed, fully destroyed. We get certification of it, and then it's legally bound by that company that everything's been destroyed. So no data's leaked out, and everything's taken care of. And then EPA-wise, none of it goes to landfills. They recycle it all, and some of it gets sold. We also have a policy for employee access attempts. So as users log into their accounts via computer, email, what they go in, if you input your password 3 times invalid wrong, you will be locked out. And you'll be locked out for a period of, in our case, 20 minutes. A notification will go to myself that you are locked out, and then we could reach out to the staff to find out, do we need to reset your password? Do we just need to unlock it because you do remember your password? Depending on what it may be. This will stop any breaches from the outside world trying to come in as well, because it throws red flags up when a system's trying to be accessed multiple times and on a very fast frequency that it's happening. The next policy that we have is an exit policy. So it's just like HR. HR has a policy as well that they follow when an employee is no longer working for the park district. We now have a policy for the technology side. Since everything's fob-based, access control, everything's running from your phone, we need to make sure that we take all the necessary steps to truly stop full access to all our information. So there's a form that's filled out by manager supervisors that would come to the IT department, and then we can lock everything down and secure it and make sure we're good there. Along the same lines as anytime there's a change. So managers, supervisors within a facility need to submit a change request. So if a user needs access to, if you're a Westridge employee, let's say you need access to Rosewood down in the interpretive center, Jessica, who manages the interpretive center, will need to submit approval and authorization for that to happen. So everyone's aware of who has access to what facility when they have access. Same thing with accessing files on our network, computer logins, anything that's related to getting information. It needs to be approved, so that way we have a documented procedure, a documented form stored on our servers showing that, yes, we've given access to a certain employee. We also have a policy for the firewall and router. This is more of a high-level policy. This ensures that the rules and everything in place on the firewall stay consistent. So the firewalls that are in place, you build rules, policy, and guidelines on them. So as traffic's coming in and out of the park district, it reads that and it denies it, allows it, and funnels it through. So this is just a high level, so that way if a rule set is changed, something is changed, we have procedures to follow, because that could have large implications through the whole park district depending on what's done. It's all documented, backed up, and recorded, everything that's taken place on the firewall as well, so we can always backtrace on what happened and to try to restore. The next policy is an internal-external penetration testing. So there's two companies in the United States that offer this, and what this is you're familiar with Target, Home Depot, the two latest scandals that have taken place. So what this is a company that comes in once a year. They will actually penetrate our network from the outside coming in. They will then also penetrate from the inside as well. So if you have a breach of security inside, they'll penetrate. They will give a full documented report on it based on what they find, and also recommend changes made going forward to make sure your data stays secure. The latest scandal, I know Pekin, Illinois had one in the school district. They had a big lockdown. The latest scam by people in the world today is they'll lock your system completely down, and then they ask for Bitcoins.
They ask for what?
Bitcoins.
What are those?
So Bitcoin's an electronic currency. So Bitcoin is like the stock. Bitcoins go up and down in value. As of today, they're around $2,715 a Bitcoin for one.
Hold it ransom.
They hold you ransom. They'll say, I want 500 Bitcoins. And depending on what the market dictates at that time, that's how much money they'll pay. They will then release and open your system back up again. We do have an insurance policy through Perderma to cover IT if something like that happens, to help. And then also we have the means and protection for it. So that's the new wave that's going. Streamwood Park District has also been compromised. They've been locked out, and Pekin are the two latest that have been more recent of that. But that's the latest because that Bitcoin currency is transferable, and it's not recorded. So you get away with sending money, and it's
like unmarked
gone.
bills.
Yep.
Thank you, Dan. I'm completely stressed. I have no idea.
Hey, do we negotiate with terrorists?
Not yet.
That's for closed session.
The next policy we have is just an inventory log. So we make sure that we keep track of all hardware serial numbers, the ID tags we place on them, the purchase date, the warranty information, the user who has the device, as well as the location where the device is going.
How are we protecting the credit card information?
The credit card actually is through chip and pin,
Yeah.
and so it runs out through the internet through secure to our processor and gateway, and they handle it. So it's all tokenized and secured and locked down. So the credit card information is not really what's stolen more. They're going after more of like the children information
Really?
in systems because you're not worth anything really in today's
Thank
time.
Everybody knows.
The child is worth
Yeah, I was like,
child is
"Sounds like I heard
worth
it."
$8,000 to $10,000 on the black market. The information, the data.
Oh, like the social security number?
Social security numbers, names, birthdays, addresses where they live. That's worth money. The adults are not. their value, because by the time you're compromised, your bank has already notified you. The children, when's the first time
So
the
they'll put
child,
credit cards in the kids'
the first
names.
time the child is actually going to go for a loan is around 16, possibly, or it's going to be 18 is when they actually going to start using their credit. It's going to be more. So that's a way for someone to use their identity all the way through to that point. So a child is worth more than an adult.
And we have a lot of information on children.
And we have just a lot of information, so it's just a matter of keeping everything secure, locked, under gate and key, and safe.
Wow.
So the next policy I have is just a telephone.
We wanted to end on a downer.
Well, you did it.
Yeah.
So the next policy we have is just a telephone and like T1 support. So in case our phone goes down, there's policies and procedures that we need to follow to get it up. Working with Liz on the website, getting information out to the public and all that to handle that. We just have a management of network components. So we currently have a tool in place that actually monitors all our devices on the network, monitors all our traffic on the network, looks at performance analysis through it. It'll actually notify us via text, calling us, email, if something's erratic and out of ordinary. So it'll actually go out, it's like scans the whole network of the whole park district to see if any devices new got plugged in, anything out of the ordinary. So we have a program running to watch for anything that may come up. And that also helps with our switches, so we could try to eliminate downtime. So if we already know if a server's having issues, we get notified instantly before the server's going to go down, so we could try to address it beforehand and make sure that's up and running. We have a notification policy, so this policy is to actually how we're going to notify security breaches to the public, because we have to notify them of all these breaches. So it'll be working with like Liz in marketing to get that information out, as well as what IT needs to do behind the scenes to secure and get all the information prepared. The second to last policy is our software and system patches. So in order to stay secure so we're not hacked, we have to make sure we keep up to date with all our software patches. So that's like Windows updates on computers, firmware update on our switches, any update that comes out that has to be done. For example, our firewalls that we currently have, firewalls are updated roughly every 48 hours. There's a new patch installed. Keeping up with the latest security trends and what's changing out there, they're releasing patches instantly. Every now and then, we do get an alert that'll come through. They're applying a patch instantaneously because of a breach that could have been found somewhere in the coding.
Is that from the software, right?
That's from the company itself, Palo Alto, yes. So they're the #1 firewall company in the world for security blocking and making sure things are locked. Just try to stay on top of all the new malware that's out there, spyware that's out there. Because it's really not the viruses anymore that are really causing issues. It's the malware and spyware that's actually doing quite a bit more damage and gathering more information.
So
And
all of these policies, to sum it up, if I may, are designed to protect the information of the public from the intrusions by outsiders.
Correct. As well as from insiders.
And I'd like to think it's the outsiders. And to protect our public, because we have to gather the information and use it.
Yeah.
And we have significant challenges, obviously.
We are being, I think Annette, you did a presentation of the stats I gave you, I know about who is hacking at the moment or something between Russia, it was Russia, China, some Slavic country and somewhere else who was hacking us currently right before she was going on for her presentation.
Yeah.
Hacking us?
Like trying to get into us, yes. So I could see on our firewall who's coming in.
Minutes before I was going to speak to the staff, and it was just kind of like random trivia. I said, so in the last 10 minutes, how many countries do you think are trying to hack us? And I think it was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And he came up and told me,
Yeah.
every day, it goes on consistently, every day.
Yep.
I mean, these will be active, living, breathing policies. This isn't policies that are going to go on the shelf. They can't. This is the way we're going to have to operate to ensure, and you said it very eloquently. You did. We are trying to protect the information of our patrons because continuously it is being searched for.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
October and September.
Yeah.
15% of our traffic just to our website was from Russia.
Yeah, Liz is
15%.
tracking it.
No.
15%?
15% from September and October, I believe, is when this really got to be, just went berserk. And before the election, and 15%.
DNC or something like that?
Maybe we should offer Russian lessons.
From our website.
We can lift the sanctions.
Yes.
But they're just out trolling around trying
Yeah.
to find where they can go and what they can get into. But at that period of time, 50% of traffic to our website was
What a wonderful world we live in.
Oh, and a lot of them are not individuals doing it. What you do is you build a computer that will actually do it for you. So you could build a computer to actually go out and just start hammering different locations, and it'll sweep, and it'll just keep doing that. And when it finds an opening, it'll notify the person who built the computer, hey, there's an opening, and then they could go
That's
make
where you
their
get that
attack.
thing that says, I'm not a robot or something?
Yeah, if you ever get the
Yeah.
that one message, yes.
Okay.
You should not be receiving those.
Okay. I'm out there fishing, and I'm looking for.
And obviously, somewhere in the numbers that we're seeing is the significant expense that we have to do our job.
Yeah, we put the state-of-the-art infrastructure in to secure this, to lock this down, so.
This is the money we spent last year?
This is the money we spent last year, yes.
Okay.
So, and the last policy in this list is a video surveillance system. So currently, we have cameras in most facilities, if you've noticed, like Deer Creek and the rec center are fully outfitted with cameras. Rosewood Beach is outfitted with cameras as well. We have cameras at all our other locations as well. They're covering like for PCI compliance, we're covering the entrance to a facility, as well as we're covering all transactions of currency as well as credit card. We're covering those. So this is just a video surveillance system policy that's been created to make that, to have one of those as well, so. So this is, yeah, these are the IT policies.
Thoroughly depressed
I mean, this is what's behind the scenes of this is how our world is, it's
And
an
we're just a
interesting
park
place.
district, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But
they're
see, I don't
attacking
take
us.
I don't take this as a depressing moment. I think the fact that this job that's being done shows that we're doing, as I said, for the public, for our consumers, we're being proactive.
But it's depressing that we have to be proactive in
Correct.
this way, in this era.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just as a point, so we brought these policies tonight and the registration policy because one of our goals in 2017 is this is the year that we are going through every single policy to bring to you in totality. We have a committee and we're just cruising through the board policy manual, and then we're going to do the personnel policy manual, get that to Ansel Glink, and then bring this to you. But we felt that some of these are more time sensitive, and with facility rentals, with Rosewood, and we just felt that it's better to get some of these out now than to wait. So,
Wow. So any questions?
No.
But not today.
Wow.
Not today. Any more?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No problem.
Very informative. Gary.
Advisory committees.
I'm going to, I'll
You know what?
take,
Do
yes,
we want to table this till next time?
it's up to you guys.
I'd like to table because I'd like to talk to you about it.
Okay,
Yeah, because
Okay.
I would too.
all right.
Okay.
We put this on our next meeting?
It will need to be
Nope.
in our next meeting since it will be tabled.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Review of vouchers, Annette.
The bills presented for the board's review this evening, June 13th, are checks written from May 26, 2017 through June 8, 2017, and the total is $462,
Wish.
$462.85. Sorry about that. These are ordinary budgeted expenditures. Any questions on any?
No, I looked through them, they were fine.
All right. Thank you. And lastly, open to the public to address the board. You are the only public.
I know, this is bad, but.
My mom
nonetheless.
couldn't make it tonight.
Mike Stroh's, 580 Hillside Drive, and I'm actually here reporting for Stephanie Sawinski, my wife, who lives at the same address. She just wanted to give you a quick report on this past weekend's regatta at the North Shore Yacht Club at Park Avenue Beach. The North Shore Yacht Club has one Thistle owner. It's a 18-foot sailboat class, and they were instrumental in getting the Lake Michigan Thistle District to have the regatta for this year at the North Shore Yacht Club. There were 6 boats competing, approximately 24 sailors, supported by approximately 24 North Shore Yacht Club members and 3 Park District staff. Saturday, we launched all the boats, but were unable to complete any races because of the small craft warnings that
Oh,
cropped
right.
up right around lunchtime. And even though sailors like a lot of wind, 30 knots is a lot of wind. So we got all the boats off the water in good order. And Sunday, we were able to hold 4 races. So even one race makes a regatta, so 4 was a successful regatta. And once we have pictures and a write-up published by the Thistle Group, we'll make sure that you get them to use as you see fit. And Stephanie really wanted to, well, Stephanie, the North Shore Yacht Club, and Alan Cohen really wanted to give special thanks to Chris Wilsman, Sean Dorr, and Frank and Arbella, whose last names we don't know, but they were very, very helpful in getting the boats in, getting the boats out, and supporting the efforts.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Open Meeting Act? Section 2C1, the appointment, employment compensation, discipline of the district, including legal counsel for the district. Section 2C5, the purchase or lease of real estate, including discussion and whether a certain parcel of property should be acquired. Section 2C6, the setting of a price for the sale or lease of property. Section 2C8, security procedures and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or reasonably potential danger. Section 2C11, litigation against or on behalf of the district. Section 2C21, the discussion of minutes lawfully closed under the Act, whether for the purposes of approval of said minutes or for conducting the semi-annual review of the minutes as set forth in Section 2.06 of the Act. In Section 2C29, for discussions between the internal or external auditors and the Board. Possible action by the Board on items discussed in closed session.
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
You call the roll.
Commissioner Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf?
Aye.
Commissioner Grossberg?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Aye.
President Kaplan?
Aye.
All right, I have a question. What's the difference between a knot and a miles per hour?
It's about 1.1 miles. A knot is slightly faster than a regular mile.
Now, why is